Welcome back, everybody. A couple quick announcements. Well, then we'll talk about Kansas State. John Michael Terry suffered a lower leg injury last week in practice. He'll have to have surgery. He'll miss the rest of the season. Tough loss for us. He was playing extremely well. He had been, I think, really one of kind of the key breakthrough players for us this year. Moving to the rush linebacker spot, and obviously done a great job there for us as a starter, and then also was doing a great job on special teams like he always has. So we'll hate to lose his experience and just the playmaking ability. Just really done a great job for us. So sick for him. Just a non-contact injury that it makes your stomach turn when you see it. So we'll get him back. Ready to go for us next year, and he'll still be a big part of what we're doing, especially with those young rush outside linebackers, of continuing to help those guys grow and mentor them. And so excited to get up here to K-State. This is a great place to play. Been there many times throughout the years, and it's definitely one of the best places in this league to go play. Consistent, great atmosphere, passionate fan base. And their football team's playing really well, obviously coming off a big win against TCU there at home. It's kind of weird looking at that sideline and, not seeing the old Alamo Bowl white jacket of Coach Snyder down there with the Cortezes as well. And so, yeah, it's kind of strange not seeing them there. But Coach Klein has done a great job coming in, which we all know his track record. At North Dakota State, obviously all that he did there. So no shock at all that they're playing very well. They've taken the system well. In some ways, they're certainly different, from what they've done in the past, and then in some ways they're not. And so you still see the toughness and physicality that we've come to expect from K-State. That certainly hasn't changed. But a talented football team, returns a lot of really good pieces, some really, really good football players. They've played well this year. They've had some huge wins, and some playing certainly well early in a new staff's tenure, which is impressive to see. So it's always a battle when you go to Manhattan. We get that, and so we're excited to get back on the road and go play those guys.
Talk about your defensive secondary, difference between this year and last year, and who's playing well back there?
I think it's kind of like the whole defense. I would say it's been a combination of, mentality, scheme. I think our guys, technique-wise, have gotten better. We've had a little bit of both in that. We've had some young players, kind of like Patrick Fields, certainly Turner Yell, Jaden Davis coming on and doing some nice things for us. So some young players that haven't played much or at all that have played well and stepped up, and then some of the older guys or guys that have played some snaps around here, like certainly the two corners, and throw Justin Broyles into that mix, throw Buki into that mix. Guys that have played a few snaps around here that have just really gotten better, and they've, I think part of it's they've grown and matured and learned from their past, and then I think they've taken to this new system and bought in with the aggressiveness, and then also the techniques that we want to have, and the other thing we've done really well is we've communicated really well back there. We've had, considering it's still a pretty young secondary, and considering it's a brand new system to us, we've had very few, just pure communication busts back there. And there's, in this league, all the different things that you see on a weekly basis, there's a lot of communication that goes on back there. So our guys have been pretty tight on that, and we haven't given up a lot of freebies, and we've been competitive on a lot of plays throughout the year. So it's certainly been a lot of steps in the right direction. I think as far as who's playing well, they've all done some really good things. They've certainly all had their moments. I'm probably more in general just proud of the youth for stepping up, and proud of some of the guys that, again, the older guys or guys that have played, for raising their games.
When you lose John Michael, you lose your starter, and you lose some depth too. Talk about the two guys that played the rest of the game or played for you on Saturday, and are you planning on moving anybody else there to secure your depth a little bit?
Those both Benito and Uwebu did a pretty nice job. They did. You know, it was the most reps that both of those two have gotten all season, and thought they handled it pretty well. But very few minimal mistakes. Both made some plays. You know, and there's two young, very talented guys that are just going to continue to get better and better. And so, you know, it'll be a positive for those guys because their growth rate, you figure, is probably getting ready to take off, and that's exciting. We certainly still have Mark Jackson there as well, who will, you know, obviously bring some experience and depth to the mix. And we do. We've got a good, talented, deep group on the defensive line. So we've got several options if we need to get to it.
Specifically on Benito, what kind of growth and development have you seen from him during this season, and what are some of the areas where he can still take a step forward?
Yeah, a lot. As much as in the last, 8, 9, 10 months, probably as much as anybody in our program. Talking about his growth, he had a very up and down redshirt year, and to be completely honest, it was probably a little bit more down than up. He struggled with the transition a little bit. I think when we parted ways with Mike, that was really hard on him because he was very close with Mike. That's who recruited him. Just got off to a rough start. I mean, nothing egregiously bad. Just kind of had a rough start, and I think kind of like a lot of guys, kind of questioned, is this the right place? Am I in the right position? Did I make the right decision? And as he's bought in more, he's just kind of hung in there. And then after that, you've seen him just buying more, and his confidence level's gone up. I think his trust level's gone up with the staff and everybody around here. And he's a very, very talented player. I mean, he's crazy athletic, and he's a very, very smart kid, very smart. And so he's kind of he's made a lot of moves to try to get past some of that first year stuff, and he's done a good job handling it, and he's really grown up and matured a lot, and his game has improved because of that.
Jalen referenced the togetherness of this team and kind of guys playing for the guy next to each other more. Do you see that right now?
Yeah, this team definitely has that. We got a good group of leaders that spearhead that, and then now you definitely sense it with this team, and we've had, the way the season has played out up to this point, so many guys have played, and so many guys on all three sides of the ball have gotten opportunities, and at times that's cut into, somebody else getting an opportunity cuts into your opportunity, and as a team, you either see that selfishly and are disappointed about it, or you're excited about other guys continuing to get opportunities and grow and help the team. And this team has been about that, so it's been exciting to see, and that's going to be really important for us going forward.
George Stoyan. Trey Sermon hasn't played a whole lot the last couple of weeks, it seems like. I know Kennedy's playing great, but how do you keep a guy like that who's obviously played a lot here in the past kind of happy, and is it hard to do that? I mean, you've had great players here in the past, and there's only one ball, so how difficult is that to keep those guys?
Yeah, snap-wise, he's had the second most snaps the last 2 games, so he has played. He just hasn't. The ball hadn't quite found him. I mean, and he had a few carries the other day. Listen, these guys go through the ups and downs of this thing. I mean, they do, and we've got a room where we've got some talented players, and kind of like we said, I mean, we come back again after the game the other day, and I think we had 58 or 59 plays again, and so, I mean, we haven't had many plays, and we've got some good players, and somebody's going to touch it more than the other. I mean, it's just how it is, and so no, Trey's done a great job. He's working hard to continue to improve. He's practiced extremely well. Our confidence level in him has not wavered, not one bit, and you know, like there's several guys in that room and you know, across the offense that have had varying levels of production throughout the year. Some big games, some not. But we know we're going to need all those guys. We realize that, and I think Trey does as well. And he's handled it just like anybody else would, and he'll be ready when his opportunities come up.
Lincoln, as an offensive coordinator, you see a guy like Neville Gallimore on the defensive line. You're playing a team. What's the challenge of going against a guy like that? And have there been guys along your time that you sort of equate what Neville's been doing this year to guys you faced and tried to defend along the way?
Yeah, it's one of the toughest places to play against a great player. It's one of the, you know, I mean, we dealt with that last year in the Orange Bowl. You know, I mean, just, you know, because that, you know, a player there, you can't really get away from them. I mean, you can't run away from them. You know, they impact everything. They impact the center of the pocket. They impact just about every kind of run game that you could want. And then for a lot of people, you know, a lot of people's center is normally not their most gifted lineman. I mean, it's you know, it doesn't happen like that very often. It's normally closer to the bottom, and it's where you put the smart guy that's not very good, you know. And so, it kind of it affects everything you do. It does. You know, Neville's certainly, you know, his effort has been off the charts. He's really gotten a lot better technically, and then he's got unique explosion for an inside player, and so it's been fun to see him grow and continue to become more consistent. He's made a big difference for us.
What do you think he's improved most to get to the? I mean, you see the speed. I mean, that's pretty evident. But what has it been that you've seen him take the biggest steps in?
I think the mental approach has been a big part of it for him. I think, you know, there's people think, well, it's interior D lineman. I mean, you either go to the right gap or the left gap. There's a lot to it, and understanding different blocking schemes and where you fit and how to leverage blocks and how to beat different blocks, and then pass rush and movements. And I mean, there is a lot to it, and I think he mentally is in a good place. And then I do think a lot of it for him too is this scheme has really put him in a position to make a lot of plays. I mean, it has. It's a scheme that, with his burst and acceleration off the ball, has certainly, you know, when you think of a scheme like this for an inside guy, you think of a guy like Neville. So yeah, it's been a good fit.
Jason Kersey.
Yeah, Lincoln. Following up on what Ryan asked, when you talk about Nick Benito having a little bit of struggles as a freshman, is that something that happens a lot to guys who are redshirting, and is it more prevalent in guys who are a long ways from home?
I would say it happens a lot for any guys, and redshirting is for a lot of guys a unique challenge because most of them have always been the best and have always played and done this or that, and you know, the majority of guys, especially this day and age, when you recruit them, you don't recruit a bunch of guys that you think are going to come in and redshirt, and you don't know how it's going to happen. And they for the most part, you know, don't think there's any chance. And so, yeah, I mean, I think all freshmen go through it. Some guys, and we do have so many players here that are from far off, and so. I think that is a factor. I think for some of our guys, I think having so many other guys from East Coast, from West Coast, from all over the country, I think helps our guys because a lot of the older players, a lot of the other players on the team have gone through a very similar thing. And but I think in Nick's case and a lot of our guys, it's just mentally making that transition and all that's asked of you and all that's different in your life now, and it changes just like that. And it's not a something you really ease into. I mean, it's a drastic, violent change, and it happens quickly, and life comes at you pretty fast. And so give him credit. He did a great job kind of hanging in there through some of the tougher times, and he's come out stronger.
Is that something you can prepare guys for while you're recruiting them, or is that something they just kind of have to learn?
You do. You definitely try to prepare them, and especially as you get guys committed and are able to kind of get to that point with them, get past a little bit recruiting them and start preparing them. it's something we try, and it's something that we continually talk about, brainstorm about among our staff, is just how can you make that transition easier. And it's obviously changed a bunch now because so many of your guys are coming in midterm, so there's really kind of two different levels of your class, the guys that are coming in midterm, the guys that aren't, and it's totally different. So yeah, you're always trying to make that transition as smooth as possible, but in reality, I mean, it's different for every single kid, and as much as you think you know them in recruiting, and you do develop certainly great relationships and all that, it's not like, I mean, it's like, right, like dating your girlfriend, right? All of a sudden you move in, it's a little bit different deal, you know, and this is kind of the same thing. Yeah, you get to know them, but then all of a sudden they're here every single day and you're coaching them and demanding all these things. It's a little bit different too. You liked that comparison, didn't you? Yeah, that's good.
Coach, K-State, they're obviously well coached. You can see that early in the year, and they went down and rolled over SEC, Mississippi State, and looked really, really good, sound and so forth. But then OSU just, they took care of them. What's the real K-State, and how big a threat are they?
Oh, they're definitely a threat. I mean, you first look at what they've done defensively through the year, you know, and they've played extremely well defensively. They've got a very talented front, a couple really good defensive ends, a couple linebackers that we've played against, a couple secondary guys feel like they've been there for forever, and they've really adapted well to this new scheme. I mean, they've been very stingy defensively, and even Oklahoma State, who's pretty high-powered, didn't just go up and down the field against them. So they're very good defensively. You know, offensively, the quarterback's back, and he really makes them go. You know, he's certainly a dual-threat guy. We've seen him before, and so yeah, they're absolutely a threat. They've had some stretches of some really, really good ball, and they've obviously won some games against some very, very quality opponents, and so. And then you can't, you know, certainly going there is always a challenge. I mean, they tend to play very, very well there and have here for forever. And so there's no question it's going to be a big challenge.
You know, like last week, you're a big favorite again. Now it's kind of the same scenario. Your guys really answered, it seems, the call. Great week of practice and really took it seriously. Just another week of that challenge.
Yeah, and this will be a new challenge. This will be different. You know, it's another new coach in the league, but certainly going on the road and then the style of ball that K-State plays is certainly different. And so it's, you know, there are going to be some really good football players on that field on both sides, and it'll be a slugfest.
John Hoover. Like in the defense, the turnovers have not come for the defense like they wanted. But now you're getting everybody talking about it being disappointing and we got to try harder. At what point does your emphasis become overemphasis? In other words, you know, sometimes you got to play the ball when it's in the air. Sometimes you got to play the man, or sometimes you got to form up and tackle versus ripping the ball out. At what point do the turnovers become a distraction to the fundamentals?
Well, you can't let them be that. I mean, our way of coaching it has been identifying the times in games that we feel like we had opportunities to potentially cause a turnover. And some weeks that's different. I mean, it depends on how people are playing you know, how they're trying to attack you. It's no different than sacks. You could sit there and say, well, you had, you know, 1 million sacks the week before, and then you didn't have any in this game. The D-line must have just stunk. No, they you know, obviously had a game plan to get the ball out fast, and so some of that depends on what the offense is doing as well. So the thing for us is we keep finding a couple opportunities each game. We feel like we can make a play on the ball, whether it's stripping a quarterback on a sack or an opportunity when a ball carrier is already wrapped up to rip the ball away, or a chance to make a play on the ball in pass coverage, or a defensive lineman a chance to tip the ball up. I mean, you just got to continue to create opportunities, and we've had a few. We haven't had a ton that have just fallen in our lap in the last couple. We'll have a few of those if we keep playing the way that we can, but we just got to find those opportunities, and then we've got to continue to coach off of them and take advantage when they come.
Follow up on the question earlier on Neville. How much of his development the last 2 years has been because of what he does every day in practice against Creed?
It's helped. There's no doubt. It's made them both better. I mean, those two guys. It's a pretty good battle up there the majority of the time, and it's absolutely made Creed better and made Neville. It kind of reminds me when we had a few years ago when we had Orlando and Obo. You know, watching those two guys go at it every single day. I mean, it made both of them better, and this is got a similar feeling.
Okay, we've got a bunch left in the queue here. If you could limit yourself to one question. Tyler Palmatier.
Lincoln, you mentioned that it was a trend that teams are shortening games against you. Have you seen a lot more of that since the Army game last year, or have teams always been doing that to you? And are you surprised maybe more teams aren't going with a flex bone, trying to take down spread offenses that are tough to go blow for blow with?
Yeah, it's been, I'd say, fairly common the last few years. It's hard to say if more after Army or not. I mean, Army's a little bit in its own world, you know, and so. But I do. It's something we've gotten used to seeing here in the last couple of years. Yeah, as far as why teams don't go to it more, you know, there's some challenges in recruiting there. You know, I mean, I think that's a big part of it, and then having a staff and the people that have the expertise and being able to do it, because it's obviously extremely specific. So it's something you can't just halfway do. You got to recruit and coach and go all in with it. And obviously, there's not that many teams that have been willing to do that. But it's obviously schematically it presents a lot of challenges.
Yeah, Lincoln, when Buki came here, I think everybody thought he would be this big play, this difference maker guy. But in recent weeks, it seems like he's doing all the little things right. How is just focusing on doing his job only, sort of making him a much better player?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of things have helped him. Going through some of the really good and the really bad last year, you know, made a difference. I think as much as you want to tell somebody, sometimes they got to fail first. I mean, they just do. And Buki had some great moments for us last year. He had some really tough moments, and I think he's really learned from them and learned what it takes, you know, from a mental and physical standpoint at this level to play, you know, the way that he wants to play and the way we want him to play. And then he's meshed well with Alex. You know, those two guys have done a good job, you know, working together and understands the demands of it. So I think that's been positive as well. But he's definitely grown up, and he's playing well. He's playing confident, playing within himself and within the scheme right now. And then he's still his usual aggressive self when he gets opportunities to make plays. And he's finished a lot more of those plays this year than he did last year. Last year, it felt like a lot of them were just, you know, so close, and he's finished a lot of plays this year.
You mentioned earlier you talking about guys playing for each other. Would that be a position like, say, tight end hadn't been as big a playmaker for you? Grant's hurt, I know, Calcaterra, but Morris caught his first TD pass. Is that a position where you think maybe the guys are kind of either not catching passes, they're, I guess, happy for the other guys that get it done to those positions?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, you know, I would say offensively you could throw a lot of different positions in there. I mean, it's been, the production has come from a lot of different areas, and it's been a little bit different each week, which, you know, it's been great to have those weapons and those guys have produced. But yeah, I mean, I think the message is the same to everybody that, you know, they hang in there, kind of like a guy like Lee. You hang in there, the opportunities are going to come, and they certainly did for him the other day. And you know, we want to keep pushing to get all those guys involved and to keep them making plays for us. But we get, you know, there is only one ball at the end of the day, and if you're about winning and stay focused and doing your job, and you don't get too caught up in the game-to-game stuff or all the stuff people are talking about on the outside, then the opportunities come, and our guys have done a good job of understanding that.
Lincoln, are there traits in Alex Grinch that, assuming he gets a shot someday, that'll serve him well as a head coach?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. He's a really good leader. He's very passionate about the game. I think he's really continuing to grow as a coach and has done well at several different stops. You know, does a good job communicating with the kids and with you know, with our defensive staff. So yeah, there's there's no doubt in my mind that if that's what he ultimately wants to do, that he would be a very good head coach.
Derek Bailey.
When you're a three-year starter like Kenneth Murray, there's going to be improvement season by season, and he really seems like he's playing at a higher level now. Where would you like to see him improve in the back half of this junior year? And just can you kind of talk about the relationship he has with Coach Odom?
Yeah, no, he is. He's come so far. There's still a handful of plays, each game that he wants back and we want back, and so I think closing the gap on some of those mistakes. He's making a lot of plays, but there's more plays to be made too, and I think him also understanding, and he's been through it, is we're going to continue to get challenged different ways. People are going to continue to adapt, how they try to move the ball against us, things that they try. And so the challenges are going to continue to evolve, and so we've got to be ready for those. He certainly does too. But, like a lot of our guys, there's a lot of positive, but he's still got a lot of steps to grow. And he's still young within this system, and still for playing the position. Overall, you look at his overall football career, not just here, still relatively young, and so he's making gains fast, and we need him to keep doing it.
Barry Trammell?
Lincoln, I think we had a pretty good read on Baker's personality. We had a pretty good read on Kyler's personality. I'm not sure we got a great read on Jalen's personality yet. He does stuff every week that we didn't see that coming. Is it the same for you? Are you learning new things about the guy all the time, or you think you got a pretty good read on who he really is?
I think I have a good read on who he is, but I learn things each week too. I mean, I don't feel like walking into situations like unknown with him now. But yeah, I mean, there's little nuances about how he's feeling or how he practices or what he likes in the game plan or what he doesn't like, or just not really personality nuances. I would say just truly as a player, just kind of little things each week that I've been able to pick up on, and so I think that's helped us, or helped me help him basically. And so now I would say personality-wise, now he's not the easiest guy to figure out in the beginning. I give you that, but I think we've gotten to a point where we understand each other pretty well.
Brandon Drum?
Yeah, Lincoln, Saturday night after the game, you had players like Kenneth Murray, Neville Gallimore, Buki all saying they're not going to be satisfied until the middle of January winning a national title. They didn't even want to talk about. It was like almost after the game, they were done with it. It was over, time to move on. Is that something a little bit different about this team than past teams that you can kind of sense and just see how, I guess, are they more serious about it, or are they more intense about it? I mean, what's your read on them?
I don't know. It's hard to compare. I mean, the years are so different. I think we've had teams in the past that, fully believe they could win the whole thing too. So but no, I mean, this team has we have really just kind of improved week to week. We have, and I do believe that they're listening to the things we're putting in front of them, the ways that we challenge them every week. They really, you feel a conscious effort that those things you put in front of them, they are trying to do their very best to take it and run with it. And so, no, that's been good. It's been good to see. And then you feel like all sides of the ball have pretty high expectations right now. And and so that's kind of led, I think, to the maybe getting that vibe from the entire team. So no, I think again, we're still so early in this. There's still so much to go, but I think our intentions are in a good place.
Okay, last question, Ryan Aber.
Like, and you joked about centers earlier. Obviously, that's a little bit different on this team. Yeah. How high a level is Creed playing at right now, and how far has this offensive line come in the last few weeks?
Yeah, Creed's done well. I thought we honestly early in the season thought he could play better. I would say our expectations for him were, pretty high. So we set the bar pretty high for him, and Bill's done a great job with him, continuing to challenge him because he can play better. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Now his good is, or his okay is still most people's good. I mean, but he can play better. We're going to need him to continue to play better and improve. He's done a good job, I think, just leading the group. I think he's had some frustrations just with all the different lineups, and not with individual players, but just one week this guy's next to me, one week this person's over here, one week this person's over here, and when you're doing that, sometimes you feel like in a way like you're starting over a little bit. And so I think he had some initial frustrations with that from just a competitive standpoint, but no, he's growing as a leader. He's growing as a player. He can still play so much better, and we'll continue to push him that way. And the lines, I really felt like last week was, again, we still got a ways to go, but we took some big steps, and just simply having the same lineup, and then having being able to work the guys at those spots, and having just a little bit of continuity for a couple weeks in a row made a huge difference. So excited to get another week under our belt, and hopefully we can keep taking the steps like we did last week.